Hello, I am George Papadopoulos, a student of Contemporary Architecture MOOC, taught by Professor Ivan Shumkov, via Open Online Academy of University. I will try in the next few minutes to present you my city, Athens, Greece, and its major points of architectural interest, as seen now, after taking the above course, during the previous months in 2013. We will see the whole city from the top of Lycabettus Hill, and then we will visit the most characteristic focal points and buildings, classic, neoclassic or modern around the city. Indicatively we will visit Acropolis, the Acropolis Museum, Plaka, Old City Neighborhood, and then we will move to Syntagma Square, Main Athens Square, the Greek Parliament, the Central Athens Metro Station at Syntagma Square. We will walk to one of Athens' main avenues, Pampistimiou L. Venizelos, to visit the architectural trilogy of neoclassical buildings of Athens, Athens University, National Academy, National Library, and then we will move towards another part of the city, where Athens Hilton Hotel and Athens Concert Hall are located. Afterwards we will take a look at the Olympic Stadium complex of 2004, and finally we will follow the evolution of private houses around the city and its suburbs, from the old, low-budget houses for immigrants, towards labor multifamilies houses, older and contemporary, and then to luxurious maisonettes and villas. Most of the public buildings we will visit have been built following the critical regionalism, reverse regionalism Kenneth Frampton's ideas, influenced by the ancient classic architecture and creating a neoclassical architecture from the end of the 19th century towards the 20th century until our days in the 21st century. We are now on the top of Lycabettus Hill, one of the two most significant hills of Athens. The other one is where Acropolis is based. A small, old, Christian Orthodox church of St. George is located here. The view of the whole city is ideal from here, as we can look towards all directions N, S, E, W of the city. Athens is a city missing, voluntarily, any high-rising buildings. Frequent earthquakes and the need to respect a tradition guided in legislation, that it did not allow skyscrapers or other volume-wise impressive buildings, like in other cities. Like this, you can actually see Acropolis, Athens landmark, from any part of the city. Athens has a population of approx. 4.5 million people, and it is extended in an area of approx. 45 by 45 km, 2,025 kilometers squared, approx. 782 miles squared. The mountains of Parnitha, Imidos and Panteli are around the three parts of the city, while to the south Thessalonic Bay and Piraeus Port offer an exit to the sea. North and south parts of the city are the more advanced and with the most privileged housing suburbs and neighborhoods, while eastern part is now emerging, due to the new airport and the commercial and services neighborhoods that have been created near there afterwards. Western part of the city is mostly an industrial part and mostly a low-income housing area. Finally, the center of the city, initially the only part of the city, and with all the administrative buildings and points of interest, it has started downgrading during the last decades, with people moving to the suburbs, looking for less traffic, more space, modern buildings, etc., and so the center started inhabited mostly by economic immigrants and becoming less and less popular. This negative trend has started to reverse during the very last years, through state and municipality efforts to renovate old buildings, create roads for pedestrians, art events, places of green, etc. Rethink Athens is a major architectural project, financed by Onassis Foundation, to redesign Athens Center and offer a new breath and prospect to the city. It looks a really big city looking Athens from Lycabettus Hill, and its expansion is still continuing. Acropolis, end of the city, Athens Citadel is Athens landmark, a UNESCO World Heritage Site and a preeminent monument of European Heritage List, a finalist of New 7 Wonders of the World. After its destruction by the Persians in 480 BC during Athens' siege, Pericles, employing the famous architects Ictinos and Callicrates and the sculptor Phidias, rebuilt Acropolis, 460–430 BC, the Golden Age, with the famous Parthenon temple, dedicated to the Greek goddess of Athena. The city took its name from Athena, the Propylaea, the Erechtheion, the temple of Athena Nike, the Pandrosian, etc. The Parthenon, a temple mainly of the Doric order, back part of the temple follows also Ionian order, employs 8 columns at the facade and 17 columns at the flanks, conforming to the established ratio of 9:4. This version governed the vertical and horizontal proportions of the temple, as also many other relationships of the building, like the spacing between the columns and their height. Architect Demetrius Piccinus, following the critical regionalism ideas, designed the Philopopis Hill Gardens with pedestrian passages in 1957. As the hill is just adjacent to Acropolis, Piccinus tried to keep the context of the archaeological place. As Alex Tsonis mentions, Piccinus proceeds to make a work of architecture free from technological exhibitionism and compositional conceit. He identifies appropriate components from the lived-in spaces of folk architecture, but in this project the link with the regional is not made out of tender emotion. In a completely different attitude, these envelopes of concrete events are studied with the cold empirical method, as if documented by an archaeologist. The investigation of the local is the condition for reaching the concrete and the real, and for rehumanizing architecture in a walking distance from Acropolis, passing Dionysus Theatre, built by Lycurgus in 340 BC and destroyed by Roman general Lucius Cornelius Sulla in 86 BC, and the later Oenodeon of Herodes Atticus, built in 161 AD, we reach the new Acropolis Museum, at Dionysus Areopagitou Street. Designed by architect Bernard Tschumi. Tschumi created a modern construction using all international recent trends of technology and materials, adopting it in a regional context. Acropolis Museum covers an area of 250,000 sq.ft, with an exhibition space of 140,000 sq.ft. Tschumi makes an extensive use of glass, ensuring a continuous breathtaking view of Acropolis and the nearby historic hills, which is located nearly opposite the museum on a hill, but also it shows the currently under the museum continuing archaeological excavations, visible through large expanses of glass floor. The upper floors contain the exhibits, statues, vases, wall paintings, etc. found at Acropolis and seen by the visitors under changing natural light coming through the state-of-the-art glass of the facades. Leaving the new Acropolis Museum, we walk towards Plaka. Plaka is the old historical neighborhood of Athens, clustered around the northern and eastern slopes of the Acropolis and incorporating labyrinthine streets and neoclassical architecture. Plaka is built on top of the residential areas of the ancient town of Athens. It is known as the neighborhood of the gods due to its proximity to the Acropolis and its many archaeological sites. Syntagma Constitution Square is the main square of the city, where the Greek Parliament, the Monument of Unknown Soldier, many major hotels etc. are located. Distances from the city of Athens are measured starting here. The Greek Parliament building was initially the Palace of King Otto. Its building started in 1836 following the drawings of the German architect Friedrich von Graetner. Respecting classical Athens architecture, he created a building of urban classicism, using also marbles from the ancient mines of Penteli Mountain. Later on the building was changed its use to become what is now the Greek Parliament. In the front part of the building, it is the monument of the unknown soldier, with the presidential guardians, soldiers dressed in the traditional uniform of soldiers, revolutionists during the War of Independence in 1821. At the down part of the square, there are the entrances for Athens Central Metro Station. Athens Metro, Attica Metro, was built in 2004, starting in 2000, and it helped through its use to reduce the atmospheric pollution of the city, as also to significantly improve its traffic conditions. Many archaeological findings and artifacts found during the excavations, from the various eras of the city history, ancient, Roman, Byzantine etc., are now exposed in every metro station local exhibitions a few hundred meters away from Syntagma Square. Following Panopistimou L. Venizelos Street, we meet the neoclassical architectural trilogy of Athens. Three historical buildings of the city, following as well the critical regionalism ideas, as almost everywhere in Athens, and built all of them during the middle of 19th century. Danish architect Christian Hansen is responsible for Athens University, 1841. His younger brother, Theophil Hansen, is responsible for Athens Academy, 1859, and National Library, 1887, following the Doric order, like Parthenon and Acropolis and Hypatia Temple, but also for the Propylaea building of Athens University, completing his trilogy. A colonnade with rectangular pillars runs along the facade. The interior of the portico is decorated with colorful murals created by Karl Rau. The murals depict figures in classical attire gathered around King Otto and symbolize the Renaissance of the arts and science in 19th century Greece. Atop the portico, statues of sphinxes refer to the ancient Greek legend of Oedipus. Four statues in front of the university building commemorate important figures in the history of modern Greece. Martyrs Rigas Pharios and Gregorius V, a revolutionary writer and an Orthodox patriarch, both killed during the Wars of Independence. Writer Adamant Ioesco Rise, whose ideas of democracy inspired Greek revolutionaries, and Ioannis Kapodistrias, the first head of state of independent Greece. The ancient Greek civilization and art is obvious in all these three neoclassical, marble buildings. Gods Athens and Apollo decorate the entrance of National Academy, standing proudly over the left and right sides of it, while all the ancient 12 gods decorate the metope over the entrance and at the sides of the building. Also, statues of Plato and Socrates welcome you to the building. National Library building follows as well the Doric order. It is built like a temple, with two winding staircases leading to the top, where the entrance. The Zappeion Megaron was also designed by Theophil Hansen in 1878. With an oval-shaped open area, flanked by a two-story colonnade, the building is painted in traditional rusty colors, a feature common in several ancient Greek buildings. Anastasios Metaxas and Ernst Ziller designed Panathinaikon Stadium or Kalamarmaron Stadium, beautifully marbled, a wholly marble stadium of approx. 82,000 spectators in 1895. The modern Olympics of 1896 took place here. In the old years, Panathinaikon Games, athletic events to the honor of goddess Athena, were taking place here, before the wooden seating was replaced by marble in 329 BC by Lycurgus, and later on in 140 AD Herod's Atticus refurbished and expanded it to 50,000 spectators. Newer buildings to be reported here are those designed by architect Emanuel Varoufakis. Athens Hilton Hotel, 1958-1963, and Music Palace, 1973-1979, always following critical regionalism ideas, made from marble from Pantali mines, while trying to offer an architecture of visual boom, prestige, and luxurious tourism. The first, a few years after WW2, and a rebirth of culture in Athens. The second, opposite Hilton, the Runner, a broken glass-made statue by sculptor Divarassos, was placed in 1988. The complex is located in Marousi, a suburb at the northern part of Athens, and it is one of the most beautiful works of Santiago Calatrava, who refurbished and extended the pre-existing since 1982 constructions. The main Olympic Stadium and the famous roof on the top of it, a dynamic structure of two metal arches 3 meter long that rise in the center at 78 meter height, weighing over 17,000 tons and covering 25,000 meters squared, the Wall of the Nations, metal constructions 250 meter long that move themselves like a wave with the wind for shading and sounds creation, the White Arches of Athens, the Central Axis, major boulevard organizing access to the various buildings, the Agora, curved road shaded by a metal pergola, the Athens Olympics Velodrome, like the main stadium with roof arcs by smaller in size, the Athens Olympic Aquatic Center etc. In the outside the stadium environment and the landmark of the Olympic torch, 120 meter height. In the inside were works of Santiago Calatrava. Many visitors from all over the world during the Olympic Games, but also tourists till now, they visit to admire his work. The work bears the unmistakable imprint of Santiago Calatrava, as it can be seen in the bridges, the combs made by bows and tensors etc. Calatrava realized his dream to combine the culture with the aesthetics in Greece, where modern Olympics have started in 1896 and classic Olympics have been born. Organic architecture is where the skeleton assumes great importance in the design and works as aesthetic elements and containers of life. Calatrava tried to combine antiquity and Byzantine architecture of Athens, where many buildings are in the form of an R, and the blue and white colors of Aegean islands. The main structure is of steel, while the elements of the wall plates were made of solid and transparent polycarbonate, macrolon in blue to allow the blue sky visibility to the attendants. The forms have been designed to provide climate control, the Wall of Nations, the Athens White Arches, the main Olympic Stadium roof, artificial lakes, many trees in plantation like olive trees, oaks, cypresses, pines etc. A variety of housing proposals can be found around the city and its suburbs, variable by the area, the time of building and the socio-economic factors. Near Acropolis and in the center of the city we can find many neoclassical houses, usually of 2 to 3 floors, keeping the tradition of other public buildings around them. In the suburbs, we can meet houses of social design and activism, like the ones for the immigrants that came in Athens from Minor Asia in 1922, houses of 1 to 4 families, in 1 or 2 floors, with ceramic tiles roofs, still existing in some of the Athens suburbs, that welcomed the immigrants during those years. Also labor, multi-story buildings, mostly built in the era of 1950-1970, for the low-income workers around the city, with grants and loan facilities to the new owners from the state. But now, especially in the northern and southern parts of the city, we can meet either multi-story buildings of luxurious construction or even many maisonettes and private villas, with modern design, swimming pools etc. This was a brief presentation of my city, Athens, Greece for the Contemporary Architecture MOOC by Professor Ivan Shumkov PhD, iversity.org. Special thanks to Professor Shumkov for the valuable knowledge he shared with us during the course. Videotaping took place on January 6, 2014, unfortunately a cloudy day. Background music in the video is by the famous Greek composer Manos Hadjidakis. Album, Never on Sunday, song, Top Idea Top Ire. Video editing took place by Apple iMovie HD. This is my first attempt ever to create a video, so please accept my apologies if the result is not of the expected quality and artistic levels.